Welcome back, everyone, to Testimonies and Healing. I trust that you all had a blessed week. Grace be unto you. Now, today I'll be telling you one of my testimonies, and I hope that you will enjoy it, and I hope that you will also, see the glory of God in my life. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video, and please remember to share your stories with us on our Instagram page at One Testimonies and Healing, or you may also email them to testimoniesandhealing@gmail.com. Stay tuned. I just want to express my gratitude to God, for being a part of my life no matter what. And I want to express my gratitude to you all that are listening in. Without you, I don't think it would be possible as well. And I just want to, express that gratitude now. To the story. So I moved in with this guy, right? I knew this guy from childhood. And we had lost touch and we had reconnected when I was going to college. And so we started a relationship and I ended up moving in with him. Before I moved in with him, he, got a bit abusive physically and verbally. But, I didn't really pay any attention to that. I was just in the moment. It was so, the intimacy and everything. I was just all into it. I was all wrapped up into it. And so when we moved in together, it was his father's house. His father was married previously, but they got, divorced, and they had children out of that union. And so it was a very big house that they had left behind. And I remember when we moved in there the first day, I found a Bible. And it didn't have all the pages in it, but I found it and I took it out of the closet because we had to clean that closet for that room that we were staying in. And I remember seeing my birth date in the Bible. And I asked him, why is my birth date in the Bible? And he said, my grandma was born the same day that you were born. And, I took the Bible. I don't know why, out of the stack of books in the closet, I took the Bible. Up till this day, but I took the Bible and I started reading Psalms and stuff, but there weren't a lot of Psalms in it because those pages were torn out. And so the physical abuse kept going on. I even suspected that he was cheating and all of that. And I remember one night, all his, all the people, the little boys from the community, they came over to watch a movie and they were in our room, and I felt so uncomfortable with the whole fact that he had all those people sitting in the room, and he didn't feel as if it was, it wasn't a problem and stuff like that, because that's the room that you're sleeping in at the end of the day. Maybe everybody could have done that downstairs or whatever it may be. And I remember he was watching me like a hawk that night. And eventually he started accusing me of liking or wanting one of those youngsters. And I just couldn't understand why he kept on accusing me of cheating, because in that community, I knew only him, a shopkeeper from childhood days, and my best friend was living there with her mom and her dad at the time. But they lived a little further around the road from us. And so, I couldn't fathom why he would think that I would want to be with, or I was even sexually attracted to people from the neighborhood that I didn't even get the chance to speak with. I have never been near them to converse. That was the first time I've ever been close to that many of those youngsters from the community. And so, we were there. I remember one day we had an altercation, and he, thumped me in my stomach. And I'm telling you, I've never gotten a thump in my stomach before, but I felt it. I really felt it. And I laugh because at one point in time of my life, it was very painful to tell this story, but because of the grace of God, I'm able to look back and, not feel that pain that I went through. I'm able to look back and not feel that hatred that I felt for him. And I'm able to look back and maybe just cry tears of joy because God was with me throughout my situation all the way through, And so when I got that thump in my stomach, I'm telling you, I felt it. And I was, there was a flashback in my head saying, this is what it feels like when people get in a real fight and, somebody get thump in them stomach. And I just remember just falling to the floor and just coughing and saying to myself, I'm gonna die because this is getting worse. This is not getting better, and I'm not telling anybody about it. And the whole fact of the matter too, when we moved there, we had an argument, and I threw my phone in the wall. And so my phone, the case of it, the shelling of the phone was broken. It couldn't, I couldn't use it anymore. It couldn't even fit together to make a phone. And so he took my chip out of the phone and he held on to it. Now, every day he would check the chip to see who was calling me, who was trying to get in contact with me and everything like that. And I had a cousin. He was always checking up on me. He didn't know my cousin. I had to tell him that it was my cousin because I almost got, hit over that. And my mom would try to call me, but, I just remember feeling so much shame and guilt because my mom would, before I moved in with him, before everything, when the first time she met him, she said to me, she didn't like him. She didn't like that vibe she was getting off of him, and she just didn't like him, and she don't know why. When you meet someone for the first time, you should be friendly or whatever. But she said her spirit just did not take him, and she just didn't want to have anything to do with him, and she didn't want me to have anything to do with him. And she always, argued. My mom is not a mother that, would be soft-spoken or say I love you, sweetie, or anything like that. So her way of communicating and showing that she cares would be shouting or just being aggressive about a certain situation. And so I really didn't care what she thought at that time. I just cared about him because I remember meeting him when I was a child, and I literally felt butterflies in my stomach for this person. And so I felt that I was reconnected to that my soulmate and everything like that. I was just a child. And so reconnecting with a soulmate was not even the case because I hardly spoke to that guy when I was a child. Because what are you going to talk about when you're, just a child? And so I remember just saying to myself, it's getting worse. What am I going to do? And I remember talking to God about the situation. And, I had a best friend at the time, whenever things would happen, she would tell me to come, my brother says to come, and she would encourage me to come but I didn't have any money. At the time, even if I had the money, I felt like my feet were stuck in cement. That's how I felt. And I just felt like I couldn't leave. One of the reasons I felt that I couldn't leave was because this person knew a bunch of really bad people. And I mean people that would just do something without remorse or regret or even a conscience behind it. And these people knew where I lived because he came to my house with them. And, you know, he knew where my mother worked and everything like that. And so a part of me, because he had threatened me that if I left, my family's would be on my family's blood, would be on my hands. He knew where my sisters lived. He knew practically where everyone was. And so I kept that with me and just felt like it's better for me to stay here and die than for him to go out there and to, you know, kill them, and then I wouldn't be able to live with myself, you know. And so I stayed, and a part of me still, you know, really wanted him to change. And, you know, when I caught him in the act of cheating, he would turn it around and get aggressive, you know, and say that I am the reason, or I am cheating. I remember there was a rainy night, and the next morning he got up and he looked on. There was a veranda. He looked on the veranda and he was out there studying footprints, like muddy footprints. And he just came after me and started beating me. And I was saying, what did I do? What did I do? And he said, you think I'm stupid? You think I don't know that you went outside and you know, did the do with somebody on the veranda? And I said to myself, but none of those footprints look like my footprints. Those footprints are smaller. And I was on the veranda trying to, you know, put my foot in the muddy footprints. And I just remember feeling so cornered, defenseless, hopeless, because everything I did seemed as if I was cheating, or, you know, and one of the times I even started to believe I was cheating, even though I wasn't doing anything. I was not doing anything. You know, there were several times I ran away to my best friend's house, or just told him that I wanted to go there. You know, yeah, I told him that I wanted to go there just to spend some time with her or whatever. And I remember one night she invited me to a Saturday night church for the youths, like a church get together for the youths. And I went with her. And I remember how, you know, I just started remembering a little bit of things that I've, you know, went through, and how God came through for me. And I said, you know, I think I need to pray more about this situation. And I remember that night he showed up there, you know, waiting to see if I really went to that Bible study or that Bible get together. And, you know, I went home and I opened the Bible like randomly, and it opened on the book of Daniel. And so I said, I'm going to read the book of Daniel from the first chapter. And I started reading the book of Daniel. And I remember, you know, most of the things that Daniel went through, like being in the lion's den. I felt the same way. I felt like I was cornered. I felt like, you know, there was nowhere to go when I was locked in this situation. But I prayed and I prayed, and, you know, reading that book of Daniel gave me strength somehow, you know, even in the midst of so much fear and anxiety, and, you know, just feeling hopeless. I felt hope. I felt that there was hope, and I felt that, you know, God was with me some of the times, and I felt like, you know, a way would open. I didn't feel as if me being there, being innocent, would just waste away like that. And so I remember this one night, he was trying to hit me. I remember this young lady in the community, she came over, and she came over there with her baby and her brother, her younger brother. And I was speaking to her one side, and I said, you know, he beats me. You know, I was so afraid to tell her because I didn't know if he was around the corner listening, and I knew what would happen later on if he heard that I was attempting to tell anyone. And, you know, she told me, well, you have to leave. You don't have anywhere to go. What are you gonna do? You can't stay here and let him kill you and all of that and whatever. And so I remember when she was leaving, I ran out to the veranda and I said, Trish, don't leave me. don't leave me. And he was so upset that he was grabbing me to come on the inside, and I was trying to break free, and he grabbed me, and there was a bed in that room before you would go on the veranda, and he grabbed me, and I jumped down on the bed with him holding me from the back, and the bed even broke, and I remember running to one of the little rooms before you went upstairs. It was just a small room. You couldn't even, there was no exit or nothing. It was just a small room that you would probably put maybe a face basin or a sink in to wash your hands. And the only thing I remember was waking up on my knees with my hands bent backward and my head in between my foot, and my head was throbbing, and I remember feeling water running down my head. And I remember Trish's brother was flashing water on me, and when he saw that I was awake, he ran away. And from there it started to get worse. There was this particular day where it was raining, and I really don't remember what started the argument. And he started, I ran out of the room, and he came out there and he choked me with one hand. It was so powerful. Like, he just choked me, and I was off the ground and in the air on the wall, choking to death. And I remember just not being able to think, but I remember saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus in my head, because I couldn't even speak. I could actually feel like I was gonna, I was actually feeling as if I was gonna be knocked out. And I remember I scratched him, and he dropped me, and I ran down the stairs. I actually slid down the stairs, or slithered down the stairs like a snake. And when I went into the room where that bed was, one of the bed posts were broken from the bed. And this is one of the 4-post beds that you can use to put like the meshing around it, to those stylish beds. And this bed was real wood. And so he took the broken bedpost and he swung that at my face, and I heard it connect, and I didn't feel any pain. I just remember getting hit. I didn't even blink. I didn't even close my eyes. But I knew at that moment when I got hit, I had to run. I know I hear a crack. I know I hear whatever. But at that moment, I felt like I had to run. So I ducked under the post, and I ran up the stairs. And he swung the board again, and it hit the wall. I hear it hit the wall behind me. And I ran up the stairs, and there was an adjacent room to the room that we were staying in that had a door, a back door. I ran through that back door and up the hill, because there was a house up the hill. And so there were big dogs up the hill too, but I took up a rock. I was barefoot. I was in my nightgown. I took up a rock, and I tried to ward off the dogs, and I ran on the veranda, and I started knocking, and I started saying, help me, help me, help me. But then I realized that the doors were locked, because I was even trying it. The doors were locked, and I started seeing blood flying out of my mouth, going everywhere. And I ran around the corner of the house, because by this time he put on his water boot and he was heading up, because it was raining that night and it was still drizzling a little bit. And so he headed up there, and I ran around to the corner of the house. Like, I waited at each corner to see if he was coming. And by the time he reached halfway, I would run. And I would, I eventually got around the front of the house, and I ran down their pathway. And there was a river that he had to cross. There was a bridge, and I remember the current of the water was so heavy, and I wasn't even thinking about that. I ran in the river, and I slid, because it was limestone rocks, and I slid and fell backward. And I remember just getting up and running And I ran to the shop because the shop was like right there. I ran to the shop and I, yelled, please let me in, let me in, let me in. And, she let me in. He came there. She called my best friend's mother. All of that quelled down. They all took me to the hospital. And I didn't even know that my nose was broken. I didn't even know how serious it was. I just know that I was covered in blood. I remember after the hospital, there was another incident. I was so fearful. There was another incident where, I left the house. I went by my friend's house without him even knowing. And I just felt so afraid. He came there and shake down the grill as if he was gonna, break it. And I just remember feeling so afraid. And my best friend's mother said at the time, well, if you're gonna do this to her, send her home. We're coming around there to help her get her things, so send her home. Because you cannot have her there doing that to her. And I remember when they accompanied me around there to get my clothes, my best friend mother said that she will be back soon. And she left me there. He was holding on to me and I was stretching out to them, pleading to them because I felt like I was at death's door, because he was very angry. And that night I went to my bed and I dreamt that his best friend, he was on a boat with me going under a bridge, on the river. And I dreamt that his best friend was there digging a hole. And so in the dream, he gave me a piece of cheese to keep me in the boat and to keep me distracted. But I remember taking it and playing fool to catch wise. And I took it and I jumped off the boat and I ran in the dream. I remember waking up feeling as if this was it. This was my last day. If God didn't help me. And so he got up and he said he was going to buy lotto. It was raining very hard. He got up and he said he was going to buy lotto. And I remember lying in the corner on the bed, just not moving, just accepting death. But still feeling a little bit hopeful. Just, I was still feeling a little bit hopeful. And, I had the Bible beside me and I was asking God, like, are you going to help me? You gave me that dream. Are you going to help me? And he left. And I remember I heard a voice say, don't move. Don't you move. Stay right there. And about 30 minutes after, he came back and he said, give me all the money that you have, because like he was saying, give me all the coins that you have because I want to use it to buy lotto. Now, whenever we went shopping, I would give him back all the paper money and I would keep the coins. By now, he knew that I had a lot of coins and I had enough coins to, take me out of that neighborhood. And so something said to me, don't hesitate, give him all the coins. And I just got up, gave him the bag with the coins. And after he left, I said, is the coast clear now? And even though I heard yes, I was still so fearful. So I was, crawling around the house and really anticipating, just being so anxious. And I remember looking and I saw a man delivering furniture to the house that was on the hill that I ran to for help that morning. And so I realized he had left and I went up there and I asked the man if I could borrow his phone to make a call. I borrowed his phone. He had asked me if I wanted to stay with him and his wife. And I said no, because at that time I was thinking I don't want to get anyone involved because he knew some really bad people and I don't want their blood to be on my hands. And I asked him for some bus fare because I wanted to go and visit my sister. And, the man that was delivering the furniture, he took me out of the community. And that's how I left that situation. I only left with the Bible, the clothes I had on my back, and a towel and an underwear. That's all I left with. And I had so many clothes, so many shoes, so many bags and wigs. And I just left all of that. And so when I was, by my family, when I left and I went to another parish. I was by my family. I didn't eat for days. I didn't care about anyone. I was, so filled with hatred because I said, God, why you do this to me? Why? I was blaming God. I was so upset. And I was asking God, why him do this to me? Why did I have to go through this? To the point where even my own family members were jeering me. People in that town, because it's such a small town, knew about my situation, and I didn't tell anyone anything because I did not speak to anyone. And I was just so upset. And I remember one night, my niece, she was maybe like 3, 4 at the time, was going to, my niece was going with her mom to a fasting service. And my niece just came to me. Everybody going to the fasting service. Nobody asked me if I wanted to go or anything. Everybody just got up and was about to go. And my niece, that was 4 at the time, said to me, Auntie, God loves you. I think like she was saying, God loves you. Come to the fasting. Come to church. And I said, baby, God doesn't love me. God loves you. And I said, you go to church and pray for Auntie. And so everybody left and I was in the house all by myself. And I remember just being there crying, and I said, God, if you really claim that you love me, take me out of this depression, out of this feeling of suicide, out of this fear. Take me out of it. And I remember I fell asleep on the couch. I never got out of that couch. I didn't bathe. I didn't brush my teeth. I hardly slept. I didn't eat. I was like a stick on a tree. And I remember dreaming I was in a desert. There were no plants, nothing. It was just dirt and desolation. No houses, nobody. I remember seeing a tall black man with loincloth wrapped around his private area. And he was just looking at me, but smiling. And I said, this is so weird. This is freaky. Like, where am I and what is happening? And I remember there was this bright light and I had to cover my face. And then when I covered my face, I felt like I was being lifted up and carried. I was carried to another part of the desert. When I opened my eyes, there was nobody there. There was nothing there. And I started crying. And I said, God, if that was you carrying me, please take me out of this desert. I want to come out. I don't want to stay here anymore. And I acknowledge you. I know you're here for me and I love you. And I just remember crying and breaking down because I really felt that, in that dream, that was the presence of the Lord carrying me, because that light was too bright for my eyes to, I couldn't see, and I probably would have gone blind by that light. And so the light came again and brought a towel to cover my face, and I took the towel and I remember feeling like I could rest, and I rested. And when the light took me to when I was dropped again, I was at the edge of the desert, as in I was at an exit, and I was walking out. And when, I started seeing houses and everything like that, and I was walking out of the desert, and I remember turning back and I saw that tall black man looking at me, smiling. And ever since that day, I decided that, God was indeed with me through all that I was going through. And I felt that I wanted to be closer to God. I felt like I wanted to know who God was, and this sparked my relationship with God, like a deeper, in-depth relationship with God. This is what sparked the beginning of me wanting to know God, me being curious about who God is, me wanting to go deeper in God. And so I started going to church. I started doing fastings. I started seeing where my life was, being drained of all the oppression, the abuse, and everything that I went through, but I still struggled with unforgiveness and everything. And years after, that guy called me back and apologized to me. And, I just kept on saying, who could it be but God? Who could it be but God that allowed all these things to happen, and then have the person that did this to me call me back and apologize to me and say that they had given their life, their life to God, and they, were very sorry about what they did to me. And after he apologized, it's like I felt a release of the hatred that I felt for him. And I still have I still have a fear of my nose, like even touching my nose. I still have a little fear there. But all I can say is that the glory of God was in that situation. The glory of God stood in the gap for me in that situation, and the glory of God, took me out of that situation. Like, if I didn't even have like a little bit of hope, and if I didn't call on God, I don't know what would have, happened to me today. Maybe I would not be alive to tell this story today, but I'm just grateful to God for, his love. I'm just so grateful to God for his love, because it's his love for me. It is indeed his love for me that brought me out of this situation. And, the fact that he values me so much, and didn't want anything to happen to me, because he knew that, I am a part of him. He knew that I'm his son, and so he looked out for me and he wanted to protect me, and he took me out of that situation. And I'm just extremely grateful that I'm able to speak about it today, and maybe encourage someone that might be going through this situation to just call upon the Lord and just trust in him fully, because he will give you instructions and he will provide a way out of any situation. It could be abuse, anything. He will always provide a way. So that was my testimony, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you took away from it that God will never leave you nor forsake you. Until my next video, please stay blessed.